I know that the Commission on Aging are here to plead their case for a line item. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to? Might as well. Before we, you want to?
I would make,
You want to do it under the budget?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to amend the agenda to
Just add the Commission on Aging
add the Commission on Aging to the agenda.
to present request for
Yeah.
To be the request.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Alicia came to our meeting in February, earlier this month, and strongly recommended that we do come to this meeting with a proposal. The letter came in, right?
Yes.
That I sent?
Yes.
Specifically requesting a line item of $1,000. As the commission's, the ordinance that we have is to identify the needs of the seniors in the community. And in the past, we've done some surveys without a lot of response. But we're looking with some guidance from some of the other towns that have done similar things with success to do things like a focus group and maybe then follow it up with a survey. It's kind of hard to do some of these things without any resources whatsoever. So to work our way into giving the seniors what the commission really is charged to do based on the town ordinance, we're putting in a request for $1,000 on the budget.
I know that in our meeting, you did mention that, was it Woodbury?
Woodbury.
So tell us a little bit more about the focus group and what you think you might get out of the focus group. And I know ultimately you want to do some kind of a mailing or to reach out.
Right, in the past, we had done a supplement. The Area Agency on Aging out of Waterbury has a resource guide. And in the past, we had done a specific supplement just for New Hartford. Some of the resources have changed, and we're really not current yet onto what's available today to be able to do that. So we're hoping, excuse me, to gather perhaps somebody from the church communities, the medical community, police, fire, any person or agency that would actually provide a service to seniors, to bring them together, to have really a discussion, what's missing? What are you getting requests for that you can't provide? Not that we can make that happen, but at least we can maybe help them identify resources around or through the state that might be able to service New Hartford where maybe perhaps the local ones are not. Other reason also is to find out what are we missing as far as, what's the outreach that the seniors are putting out there that as the commission, we don't even know anything about. To try and see if we can find ways to meet those needs. I know one of the things, Dan, the dishwasher thing upstairs. Eventually, it would be ideal if the seniors were able to make their senior center into a meals location. Right now, that's not a possibility, and some of the restaurants in the past have been on a meal program that the seniors could work through. Right now, there is one out of Torrington, I believe, out of the Sullivan Center. I'm not sure the seniors here even know so much about that. So bringing in some of the other senior centers and commissions on aging, towns similar size, to get better input as to how they're servicing their seniors.
And an additional question I would have would be, it's hard to just put $1,000 as a line item into the budget without having some kind of a plan of what you think you might spend this year, what you think you might spend next year.
Mhm.
How do you think the funding, will it be like higher in your startup year and maybe lesser in the next years? So we would need to consider some of those things.
Sure. How do we get you that information? Because I'm not sure I have that for you right now.
What do you think? Do you have any questions?
Well, I have twofold. Is the desire to start off with mailing, because the difficulty of our position.
No, the desire is to get the information that we would need to create a mailing eventually. So I think the focus group probably would be the first step we would want to go through, to to bring people in.
But that's a volunteer effort.
That would be a
I'm talking
volunteer
about
effort.
just, things that cost money. The difficulty of our position is if you did a focus group and you identified the things and then you want to do a mailing, the town's in the unfortunate position of having their communication line item cut to 0 2 years ago. We used to run mailings, now the selectmen's budget doesn't include anything, and there is an effort within the budget with a review to try to restore communication. Nowadays, a lot of people are doing emails and things like this, but a lot of, in difficult times, it's tough to
Right,
to
and
justify.
the problem with the email in the senior community is that many of them do not even have computers. So it's not necessarily a viable source to get information out to the senior community. En masse, not just the ones that attend the senior center, because they're the ones who are getting services, at least through the senior center.
Does the Commission on Aging now have any budget or any funds?
Nothing.
You don't have a checkbook now?
We have nothing.
So if, okay. I got that, that's zero.
Enough said.
Nothing.
We're starting from
No, I
ground zero
understand
here.
about that, nothing,
We
but,
thought that we had $1,000, but we found out that that was not our $1,000 to spend, that was the senior director's $1,000 to spend on
The ombudsman.
the ombudsman, on programs that she wants
yeah.
to go to, or to buy software for her computer.
As-
Whatever,
In her role as the ombudsman.
right, whatever,
It-
what she would
It
need.
was
Municipal
confusing.
agent for the elderly.
Yeah, it was confusing because that individual in the past had been a member of the commission, so there was a very gray area as to where that money actually lived. And it had been used apparently inappropriately to do a mailing in the past, to create a resource guide and to do a mailing, and then we found out that we didn't have that resource anymore.
This is what they were talking about, this one right there.
Yeah, thank you. You know, if there was, money approved in the budget for use by your commission, who would administer it? Town, would we hold the money and then make an expenditure for a focus group, and, or?
If that would be the easiest way
Mhm.
to do it, yes. And if that's how Gordon and Annie wanted to do it, yes.
My other question is do you have any idea how many people qualify as seniors in the town of Hartford, approximately?
Yeah, we do, that was actually in the, isn't that steep grant that we wrote, Dan, that was in there?
There are
Put-
more,
we
Yes,
Put a
but
number in there?
I can't quote the number.
there are more
off the top of my head.
seniors now after this last census than the previous census living in New Hartford.
I guess what I'm saying is though, but if you were gonna have a focus group, what would the expenditure for that involve? Maybe having, you probably use the town hall, right? Or your senior center to have a focus group?
We would probably, yeah, we
Or
would use the
Berkshire Hall.
senior center
Or Berkshire
or
Hall.
Berkshire Hall.
And then I asked about the numbers, because if you were to do a mailing, you got a bulk rate, and you paid, 40 cents per person.
Well, the focus group, I mean, that would be, the mailing would be the end result of finding the information from the focus group. I'm quickly trying to find that, there was a pie
But
chart.
we need to service our seniors in town, and right now they're not really, except for the few that attend upstairs, you're not
Right.
reaching the general population of seniors.
The difficulty of our position is we
Yeah,
not only
don't
fund
have
the
a lot of money.
municipal,
No, I see that.
we fund the municipal agent, but we also fund the seniors through the municipal agent and our senior director to the tune of, 30.
It happens to be the same
Yeah.
person,
I understand that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's, they don't have it together, they have some budget.
I mean, if we could have access to her $1,000, then we would be happy and we would just leave,
What did you ask for?
It's
No.
not hers to give.
yeah.
I don't see why we wouldn't be able to consolidate it all, because it is for the seniors, and we do have a senior line item for, the majority of the expenses. The $1,000 line item is for her to attend, training and whatnot. I think it should be a collaborative effort somehow.
Yeah, I think even if we could share the $1,000.
Right.
The,
Or if you could bump hers up to 1,500, we could share. I'm willing to negotiate.
sharing is, now we're talking about 50% less, so that, in my eyes, now we're down to 500 instead of 1,000. I echo what Selectman, what Alicia said, is that, how much is it gonna cost to do this, it's kinda like if, you go to the movies with $10, usually you don't come back with a lot of change. You go to a movie with $15, you still don't come back with any change, so.
The difficulty of our position now, I'm just gonna put on the table now, is that while it would seem very easy for us to discuss something as simplistic as $500 now, in about an hour, we're gonna be talking about $1,200,000, $1,100,000, and we're gonna be sitting there. I'm gonna be pulling out this side of the hair on this side of my head, you're gonna be pulling the hair on the other side, Alicia's gonna be squirming, Christine's gonna be hiding, and we're gonna be looking within existing line items, because the past practice and the difficult nature of the position of this town, for someone who's been in the position to write and work with two great selectmen for the prior 2 years, and now the opportunity to work with you two guys. The situation is that as we look at it, when you look at the front of that budget and you say, well, education, 73% of the budget. And when you look at the ratio of how spending increases around here, we will be asked again to try to do more with less to fund our kids, a worthwhile enterprise, at the expense of many other important programs. Last year, the general government budget went up something like less than $1,900. And we worked our hardest. We've renegotiated healthcare contracts for employees. We've tried everything and anything that we could do to do this, and yet the education, as we will see on that page 6 or 7 in this budget, is a sizable number where, in this economy, all of these numbers add up, and it's very difficult. So I'm not opposed to looking at $500. I think the easiest thing to do is for us to have a discussion about how our money is allocated through Jean upstairs. But I just know that to make a promise now,
Well,
on the
I'm not
first
gonna
day
promise
of the
As
process,
someone who gets a lot of
puts
mail
us
from
in
the
a very difficult.
AARP, I think that, we should do just as you suggested, Mr. Chairman, and explore it and try to, and take the idea that Alicia has and try to coordinate it and try to maybe wrestle some of that $1,000 away from them.
And
Make something available to you, I think, you're.
Our board's struggling with communication expense at the same time,
Right.
It's not, it wouldn't be the first time that if we had a specific request to do something like that to help out the seniors, that we wouldn't consider it. We have, the West Hill property owners that come up and wanna do, work around a lake, or every once in a while, there's an oddball request that comes before us that we have the opportunity, if we can make it work, that we could consider these things, but I just know now that we are just in a very difficult position this year, and I just know that the Board of Finance members are gonna be under stress to do the best that they can, and the selectmen the same, and what we have here is really the as-is requests budget, for the existing departments, many of which will be lucky that, after we're here for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours over the next couple weeks and a couple special meetings later, we're gonna be looking to say which line items can go without for a year. And I've been in the position to have to cut some line items, and, it doesn't help when you have to do that, but, there's people reaching in their pockets in this town, and there's only so much money to go around. That's all there is to it.
Just keep in mind, Mr. Chairman, that in a few short years, you also will be one of us seniors. And your parents are part of our senior
I
group.
know that they are.
Well, we
I mean,
appreciate,
there's many more of us than you probably realize.
I do understand it. I think I, without saying too much, I think that we all understand that even if you were to look at this draft here, and you were to understand that when we talked last time and we met, we said, well, let's try to keep our initial request for everything that we would consider, in between 1% and 2%, I think you said. And I think that we've done that. And if we were to say, well, we're gonna put another $500 in here, but I think that surviving the final review will be a lot harder. So If it's the will of this board and another
We'll look
half an
at it
hour,
real hard, I
45
promise
minutes,
you
We
that.
appreciate that, and,
We'll
and,
look at it
you
very
can
closely.
consider.
you know, I mean, if it's, I recognize this, the difficulty that every community is in. And we appreciate the opportunity to come in and present to you. And
And we
if there's
appreciate
an,
the work that you do.
if there's an opportunity perhaps to, if there's already $1,000 line item with Jean as the ombudsman, to be able to share part of that
Right.
for other purposes, if she's not gonna use the whole thing for her educational needs, maybe that's an opportunity to get the commission some funding.
Well, I hear Christine
She
saying,
would
That
share it.
She's
And
already
she-
said that, she's.
the difficulty of your
We
position,
didn't know.
and I know that you're
Get the
starting
check.
off small,
Give her a check.
is but
Go to purchasing order policy, just like Gina.
the difficulty is that, just from someone familiar, you know, to reach everybody in town, I think the last time that we talked,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, is a $2,900 mailing.
yeah, it is.
Or a postcard, it's the
It's
cheapest
expensive,
is
very
Right.
expensive, right.
$900 to
Right.
hit
I
everybody.
mean,
Mail.
we're, you know, we're probably gonna look at things like using the church bulletins if we wanna get, you know, or stuffer maybe in the church bulletins, that's one vehicle to get things out. So I mean, we're gonna try and be as creative as possible, once we get to the point of saying, okay, this is the information we wanna disseminate, now what's the cheapest way of getting it out there?
Right.
Well,
And I suppose
appreciate
we
that
can
spirit.
always, if we keep some kind of communication expense, and we get ready to do some kind of mailing in the future, we'll check back with them and see if they wanna put anything in.
I know.
But I know I understand.
But you
that's
know,
the
when
best
I
we
write
can
these
do.
budgets, I know in my heart that there's certain areas that I know that are more secure than others, and when I see that communication expense in there, I know it's $5,000 in a tough year. And I know that it's gonna be hard to keep that in.
But let me remind you that, it was Bruce who wanted to take it out, and that was only because you guys knew at that time
Oh, yeah.
there was gonna be an increase in the lawyer's fees, and you guys needed to look.
Oh, piece of paper.
So that was the reason for taking it out, because you did have other expenses.
So,
The one upstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just saying we
I-
should consider it.
of course we
Yes,
should, and I don't wanna go too much off on budget
Right.
when we have other issues.
Appreciate the opportunity
Thank you.
to
Thank you for
present
coming
to you.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.